Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video we will learn how to upload files like images and videos to the cloud storage using Firebase in a mernstack project. So let's start with the demo. So I have a front-end React application running on port 3000. So you can see it is currently running on my local machine. So the backend is running on port 5000. So I'm using Node.js with Express framework, and we have connected to MongoDB cloud instance. So if I show you the Firebase cloud storage, currently you can see I have a empty bucket created. So this has no files uploaded right now. Also, if I show you the database, so you can see I have a demo database created on MongoDB with a videos collection. So it has 0 documents. So let's start with uploading files. So this is a basic form with the upload facility. So let's select the files. So this is for the video upload. So you can see when I select the file, it is showing the upload percentage indicator as well. Also, let's select the image. Okay, this one. So you can see again it will show you the indicator. So right now if I inspect the element, so here you can see I'm logging the download URL. So this URL is given by the Firebase after it uploaded to the Firebase storage. So we have to take this URL and store in the MongoDB database. So when we click on upload, it will do that thing. So let's verify before uploading. Let's click on this Firebase section and let's see whether the files has uploaded or not. So you can see there are 2 folders created, one for images and videos. So if we check the images, inside that it has a file. Okay, and then inside the video, so we can find the video that we have uploaded. Okay, now so when we click on upload, this data will get stored in the MongoDB database. Okay, it has refreshed now. So if we go back and refresh this MongoDB, so you can see it has a document with the image URL and video URL. Okay, so in the next section we will get started with the front end setup. Alright guys, in this section we will work on front end React, as well as we will set up the Firebase also. So I'm currently inside a project root folder. Inside it I have 2 directories, client and server. So I'm running front end and back end as independent services. So React application is present inside client folder and Node.js server is present inside the server folder. So let us change it to the client directory. Here I have created a React application using the npx command. So you can use the dot so that it will create the React application using the client name, or you can also provide your application name as well. So in my case, I have already created one using the application name. So if I do again list the contents, you can find so this is the one that we need to. So let me change it inside that. So you can see I have already running this application on port 3000. So once you are inside this, you can execute npm start command. It will start the application. All right. So let me show you the Visual Studio Code. So you can see I have cleaned some files in this basic setup. So currently I have inside app component, you can see I have only app, and I have cleaned some of the styles as well. So inside source folder, let's create a folder for the components. So inside it, I would like to create a component called upload.jsx. So using the React snippets, like I'm going to create arrow function. So you can see we have a simple component, and I would like to use this component inside React. So in place of here, I would like to okay, you can see now upload component is showing in the React application. So before starting with any other changes, let's go ahead and set up the Firebase. So if you go to firebase.google.com, you will go to the Firebase homepage. So here onwards, you can go to console by clicking on this button, or you can get started. So this is my console homepage. So here you can see first of all we need to create a project for our application. So let's go ahead and create one. Okay, so let's continue. So I do not want any analytics for the demo. So let's disable this. Let's go ahead and create one. All right, so the project is created. Let's continue. Okay, so we are inside the project. First of all, like you can select the web option. So here we need to register our application. So inside Firebase project, you have to register your application first so that you can access the Firebase services in your React application. So I'm not going with the Firebase hosting and all, so you can leave that. So let's click on register app. Okay, so now it is asking us to install the Firebase, and then we have to initialize Firebase so that we can begin using the Firebase products inside our application. So let's copy this command. So inside our React application, you can see I'm inside React. So here, along with Firebase, like we also need some other packages. For example, Axios for making HTTP requests so that we can communicate to our backend service. So we can also install React Router DOM package as well. So in the meantime, let's go ahead and initialize Firebase in our React application. So I'm going to copy this code. So let's go back to VS Code. So okay, here inside the source folder, like I would like to create a file called a firebase.js file. So inside it, I would like to paste this information, export this as a default export, because we are going to use this app in other components. So make sure you are using environment variables for the configuration values. All right, let's close this file. So after this one, let's continue to the console. Okay, now, so you can find the build directory on the left hand side. So if you expand this, we are going to use storage section. So you can upload files to this Firebase storage. So let's get started. So first of all, you can see it is asking some rules, security rules about the access. So we are going to test in test mode. So once you are done with the testing and all, if you want to go to the production, you are supposed to change the rules. So right now I'm selecting the test mode. So you can see it is allowing for the next 30 days for read and write access. Okay, let's select the next. Here you can see you cannot change the location once you select it. So make sure you are selecting the storage location at your nearest centers as per your requirement. So I'm just going with the default option. So you can see it is creating the bucket for storing the files. All right, so we have a bucket created and inside the storage section. So also you can see we have installed the packages that are needed for our front end. Let's jump back to VS Code and start working on the upload component. To save some time, like I have already created a form. So I'm going to replace this div with the form that I have created. So you can see I have two div tags for the file inputs. So this div tag contains a label for the video and then the input file for accepting. So here you can see we are accepting the videos only. So we cannot select images for this file input. So in the second div tag, you can see this is for the image file, and you can see here the input file we are accepting images only. And I also have a button for the upload. So this is of type submit. So when you click on it, this is going to execute, right? So we need a submit handler. So let me go ahead and provide that as well. So here you can see, so I have this function logic. So when we click on upload, so the handle submit function is going to execute. So we are preventing the default action. So inside it, you can see I'm going to make a backend request. So I will explain this in a moment. So first of all, you can see we need Axios. We have to import that. So you can see Axios is imported. Okay, let me comment this line for a moment and save this and see how it is looking in front end. All right, so I have some CSS styles to center this form. So if I go to app.css file, so you can see this CSS file is already imported in this root component. So here it has a class name of app. So I'm making use of that class, and I'm providing the width 100% and height as 100 viewport height. So if I save this, okay, and then you can also observe like inside the upload component, we have a class name called upload. So let's also use this styles. So here you can see I'm trying to display flex, align item center and justify center so that it will make the content center. We also need to provide width and height so that it will take the parent width and height styles. Let me save this. Let's go back and verify this. So now you can see we have the form centered. So let's start with form handling. So here you can see we are selecting the input files. So we need a state so that we can save that files. So let me go ahead and so here you can see I am creating two state variables for the image and video. So let's import this use state from React. So I'm initializing with undefined value. State values are used for storing the selected files. So here you can see on the input for the video. So I'm going to add a on change handler. So here you can see whenever we change the selection of file, so we are going to update our state variable. So we are going to set from the files target files. Since we are only uploading one file at a time, so we can access the first index from the files. So we also need to update for the image as well. So for the image input, we also need to handle the on change handler. So this is going to update the image. So we also need two more state variables. So here you can see image percentage and video percentage. So this is to keep track of the upload percentage. In a moment, I will explain where we can use this. Whenever we select any file for image or any video, so we need to execute the functions. So here you can see I'm using use effect. So let us import this first. So we need to define this upload file function. So what's happening is whenever you choose a file, so we are going to trigger this function so that it will upload the file to Firebase. So you can see to this file we are passing the two arguments, right? So one is the video file that we have selected and the other one is the type of video. So I will explain why we are providing video URL and image URL. Okay, so let me create this function upload file. So you can see this function is accepting the two parameters. So these are the arguments like we are passing, right? So one is the file that we have selected and the other is the file type. So here onwards, like let's go back to browser. So Firebase has the documentation that provides the full example for uploading the files. I will provide this link in the description. So here, let's make use of this code. So we need to import this functions from the Firebase. Import here. Okay, so the next thing is like, so you can copy this line also. So to this function, remember that we need to pass the Firebase inside Firebase like we have initialized, right? So we have this app variable and we are exporting as a default. So we need to import in this upload component. So let me import that. And we need to pass this to this get storage function. You can ignore this metadata. This is fine. So let's use the other variables. So here you can see to this function like we are passing the storage reference and you can also like you can remove this metadata. So you can see inside this reference like we are providing the folder name and we are attaching to that to the file name. Here I'm going to use two different variables, one for the folder and one for the file name. So you can see if the file type is image, then we are going to have a image folder. Otherwise we are going to have a videos folder. From this thing, like you can see I'm changing the file name also. So like whenever you upload multiple files, it should not have a same file name problem. So you can see I'm using the date seconds and we are concatenating with the file name. So here instead of having this thing like we can, so you can see I'm using the folder and as well as the file name. So it will be like images slash file name, whatever we create. Okay, so now you can see on the upload task function, so we need to listen for the state changes if there are any errors in between or the completion of the upload. So you can copy these things. So I have already made some changes, so I will go ahead and so you can see to this upload task, so we are listening to the state changes and we have three functions here. One for the like it will give you the upload progress and the other for the handling the errors. The other section is once the upload is completed, then we can get the download URL. So this Firebase gonna give us the download URL. So this URL we are going to upload to the MongoDB database via our backend. So let me comment this code. I will come back to this in a moment. So inside snapshot, you can see like on the documentation. So you can see they are calculating the progress and they are trying to console log the percentage done. So here what I have done is instead of console logging, like you can see, so if it is a image upload, then we are setting that percentage. So whatever the percentage value is, so we are rounding off to, you know, so basically the progress value will be in decimal format. So we will convert this into integer. Basically when we round it, it will come to like within 100. We are going to set that percentage to the state variables we have created. So for the image percentage, it will update this one. For the video, it will update this one. So apart from that, I'm not making any other changes. So in the error section, you can see I'm just leaving them as it is. So these are the default cases, like you can handle as per your requirement. Okay, so the next thing is, so you can see we have the image percentage and video percentage available, right? So we can update them in our form. So here I'm just going to paste this information. You can see inside the curly braces, like if the video percentage is greater than 0, then we are going to display the uploading percentage. So same for the image as well. So once we have the download URLs available from the Firebase, so we need to store that information in inside React, right, as a state variables, and then we need to pass them to our backend API. Right? So for this, I'm going to create a state variable. So I have created a state variable called inputs. So with the empty object. So whenever we have the information, we are going to update the state. So you can see using the set inputs, like we are going to update the previous state and we are returning the latest state value. So if it is the image URL, then it is going to have a property called image URL with that particular value, download URL value. So once these values are updated as per our upload, then, you know, when you click on upload button, so we are executing this function, right? So here we can go ahead and pass this information. So here you can observe, like I'm running backend on port 5000 and our API starts with API/videos, and we are making a post request here. And here inside you can see we are passing request body with the object, and we are destructuring the input values, spreading out the properties, state values, right? So this input contains our image URL and video URL. So let me save this. So I believe we have completed the setup. So here you can observe, like whenever I change the file or the video as well as image, so we are going to trigger this function. So this function will take care of uploading the file to the Firebase. Once we get the URL, we are updating our state inputs. And then once we click on submit button, so we are going to make a API request to the backend service. So here you can see we are also logging the download URL, right? So let us go ahead and verify this on the browser. Let me open the console. So let's choose the file for the video. So the upload is 100% completed, and you can also see that we have the download URL available. Let's also select the image file. So for the image also we have the download available. Before clicking on upload button, let me go back to Firebase. Here on the Firebase storage bucket, let's refresh this and see if the files are uploaded. Okay, now you can see we have two folders for the image and videos. If we go inside again, we can find the image as well as the video. All right, so the files are uploaded. So when you click on the button, it is going to make API request. In the next section, we will set up the backend Node.js server with Express framework, and we will also set up the MongoDB database for storing the data values. Welcome back, guys. In the last section, we have completed the front-end React application part, and we have also completed the Firebase setup. So you can see we were able to fetch the download URLs after uploading the files. So in this section, we will work on the backend Node.js server, and we will also set up the MongoDB database on the cloud. So you can go to mongodb.com and you can sign up for free. Once you sign up, like you can come to the dashboard like this. So this is my database cluster dashboard. If you are logging to the first time, then you might need to create organization first. So you can see I'm currently inside a test organization. I have a few organizations, so like it will ask you to create one. So you need to provide one name and then you can click on next. So inside the organization, you are supposed to create a project. So I have already created one test project. So you can simply click on the new project. You can give a name and you can add the members. So once you are inside the project, you need to set up the database cluster. So you can see I have already created one setup cluster that has a shared plan. So if I click on the green button, so you can see it is providing few options: serverless, dedicated, and shared. So dedicated and serverless are paid plans. Like if you go to the shared plan, so you can choose the free version. So you can see you are limited with the storage. You can get started with free, and later on you can upgrade to the paid versions. So you can choose the cloud region and provider, and then you can go ahead and create the cluster. So since I have already created one, I'm not going to create one again. So once you created a cluster, make sure you are adding the database access and network access. So if you go to database access, so here you can see I have already created one user. If I click on this add new user, so you can create one user with the username and password. And in the network access, add your IP address. You can go with adding your current IP address, or you can also allow access from anywhere. But keep in mind that when application is in production, you are supposed to provide your server IP address, and you should not allow anybody to access your database cluster. So currently I'm in test mode, so I'm just going with this option. So let's confirm. So basically, this is needed so that your server can reach out to database on the cloud. All right, so let me go back to the database section. Okay, inside this, you can see, so I'm just going to browse collections. So I have the database already created that has a videos collection. So it has 0 documents right now. So you can go ahead and create one. Okay, so let us start with code, and then we can connect to the database from server side. I have opened an empty folder server in VS Code. So let us start by creating the package.json file. Okay, so let's install some packages. So we need Express. So we are going to use .env. So we need Mongoose for interacting with MongoDB from Express server. So we also need CORS package for allowing cross-origin resource sharing. So in the meantime, let me go back here. So I want to create a few folders. The routes folder that handles all the routes. Models folder contain the models, database models. One folder for controllers that contains the logic, another folder for config where it contains the database files. We also need a .env file to manage the environment variables. Let me open the package.json file. Here you can see index.js is the starting point for our server. So I'm going to update this as a server.js. So here for the start command in the production, you can use this. So in the development, like I will use this by using the nodemon. Here I have already installed nodemon as a global dependency. So if at all you need to install, then you can go ahead and install as a dev dependency like this. Okay guys, so here I'm going to make use of the ES modules instead of common JS. So you need to add a type property with a module value. So let's save this, close this one. So let's create this server.js file, which is the starting point of our application. So let's import Express. Let's import .env package as well. Let's also import CORS. We need to execute a function called config on the .env package. So this will attach the environment variables to the system. So let's create the Express app. So we can create a variable with app and calling this function. Let's also create a variable for the port. So first of all, we will get the port number from environment variables. If at all, if it is not available, then we can assign port 5000. So let's add the middlewares. I need to also create one more folder here. I have forgotten, which is middlewares. Okay, so here for our express app, like we need a few middlewares. So we need to call this a CORS function so that it will allow us to make a request and access the resources from server side. We also need one more middleware, which is express.json. So this will parse the incoming request body into JSON format. So the next thing is we need to create our routes. So here any route that starts with API/videos, so we will redirect to video routes. So I'm about yet to create these routes. So in a moment I will update this. So next thing is we need to listen to the request. So let's start by calling the listen method on app by passing the port number. So this will have a callback function which allows us to, so here inside we can connect to DB. So I'm going to create a one function that will connect to the database, and inside after this I am going to log server started listening on port, and we can pass the port variable like this. Okay, so let's concentrate on creating the connection to the database. So inside the config folder we can create a file called db.js. So inside this we need to import a mongoose. So I'm going to create a function called connectdb. So this is a async function. So we can go ahead and export this function. So if we go back to browser, so in the cluster page you can see you have a button called connect. If you click on this, so on the drivers part, so here you can see connect to your application. So if you click on this, so it will provide you a connection string which we can use in our express server. So let's copy this, let's close this one. So on the environment variables, let's go ahead and create a few variables. So first of all, we need to create a port. So let's assign this 5000, and then I'm going to create one variable for the MongoDB URI. So here you can see the connection string contains the username and so password. So here you need to provide the user details which you have created inside database access. So you can see this is my username, and let me go ahead and update the password as well. So here after the slash before the question mark, we need to provide the database name to which we want to connect. So if we go back to the database cluster, so inside I have a database named DemoDB. So you can see this is my database. So we need to provide this name before the question mark like this. So let me save this file. Let's go back to db.js. So here you can see I'm using the try catch block and inside the catch block, like you can see I'm just logging the error. So you can handle the errors by your custom error handlers. So inside the try block you can see we are making from using the mongoose package, like we are calling the connect method, and to this we are passing the environment variable, the connection string. So once this line executes successfully, then we are good to proceed further. So you can see we are logging MongoDB connected at this particular host. So let's save this. So we need to import this function in our server.js file. So you can see we have imported from this path. So make sure you are also appending the .js at the end, since we are using ES module syntax for the import. For a moment, let me comment these routes and let me save this, and let's start the server, backend server. So we have created a script, right, for the dev, like we can make use of Nodeman and it will start the server.js file. So I'm going to run that script, npm run dev. So here you can see our backend server is started listening on port 5000, and it is also connected to the MongoDB database at this instance. So let's start creating the routes. So inside routes folder, let's create a file called video.js. So in this file, let's import express. So let's create a variable called router using this express package. We can call the router function like this. Let's export this as a default. So here we can create our route using this router variable. So any post request that comes, so we can provide the request handler here. So for example, this function will trigger when we reach out to, so when we make a request to this endpoint localhost 5000 API/videos, so from our server.js file you can see I have commented this line, right? So let's uncomment this. So let's create a variable for the video routes. So let's import these routes from, so we have video.js file. So now you can see the connection is established from our server.js file. So whenever we receive any request to this endpoint, so we are navigating to video routes file. which we are importing from this particular file. So inside this you can see if we receive any post request to this path, so here we need to create a controller logic. So I'm going to create one function, create video. So I'm going to define this function inside controllers. So inside the controllers folder, let's go ahead and create one file called video.js. So basically you can name your file like this also, or you can also follow video.controller.js syntax also. It is up to you. So I'm just creating video.js file. So inside this let me create function. So this is going to be async function. So let's also export this file in the beginning itself. So this function receives a request and a response parameters as it is our request handler. So let me save this. So I will come back to the implementation part in a moment. So let's import this function in our routes file. Whenever we make a request to this endpoint, a post request, so this create video function is going to be a request handler and it is going to execute. So we are importing this function from our controller video.js file. So inside this file, you can see this is the function that is going to be executed. So before writing the controller logic, so we need to create a model. So inside the models, let's create a file with a capital letter video.js. So this is kind of a naming convention, like keeping the model names with a capital starting letter. So here we need to import mongoose package. So let's create a schema. So here you can see using the mongoose package, like we are calling the schema function, and inside this we are passing an object. So we are passing two objects here. In the first object, you can see I'm creating two properties for this schema. The first one is image URL. So this is of type string and it is required. And the next one is for the video URL. It is also a type string and it is required. These are the properties where we store the uploaded URL values. So you can see in the front end, after uploading we got the URLs, right? So these values we are going to store inside these properties in the database. And the second object is timestamps true. So this is needed because when you create a MongoDB document, this will attach two properties like created at and updated at. These properties are helpful. So let's also pass this object. So once this is done, we can go ahead and create a model based on this schema and export this as a default. So you can see mongoose contains a model function. So this is the name of the model, and then we are passing the video schema to this. So basically, like the plural name of this model name will be our collections name. So this is like collection is similar to table in relational database, where relational database contains tables, and tables contains rows and columns where each record represents data. So here in the NoSQL database, here you can see collection represents table and documents represents the records. Okay, so let's save this and go back to the controller. So first of all, we need to receive the request body information. So here you can see from the request body, we are destructuring the image URL and video URL properties. So here I'm checking if there is no image URL or if there is no video URL, then we are throwing a 400 bad request with the error. So here we need only these two properties, right? Image and fields are required. So this is to make sure that we have both the properties available with the data. So the next thing is we need to create a try catch block, and inside you can see inside the catch block, like I'm logging the error, we are throwing the error response with the status 400. So inside the try block, you can see using the model. So we need to import the model from models folder. So you can see I'm importing this model from models folder video.js. Using the mongoose model, we can call a function called create, and here as an object you can pass the properties. So these properties should be same as these properties. So you need to make sure that. So here both property and value also stored in this variable, right? So that's why. So I'm not using key value pairs like this. So after ES6, like you can ignore this thing if both keys and values are having the same names. So once the video is created, you can see I'm sending a 201 status for created, and I'm returning a JSON response with the success property as well as the newly created video. If we go back to server.js file, you can see whenever we receive a request to this endpoint, a post request, so we are going inside the video routes, and here you can see to this endpoint we are executing this request handler, and this function is coming from the controller. inside controller you can see we are checking the fields and we are creating the document using the model. So our server is already running, so let's verify this from our front end side. So I'm just going back to the front end application. Okay, so let me go back to this firebase storage. So I'm going to delete these two things and perform the operation again. So let me refresh this. Okay guys, so here you can see I have forgotten to add the .js when we are importing the function from the controllers. So just make sure you add that syntax as well. So inside the front end, like so you can see after making the request, like we have forgotten to refresh the page. So you can use window.location reload function. This will reload the file. Okay guys, so let's select the video. Okay, 100% is completed. We have received the URL from Firebase. Let's also select the image. Okay, so both the files are uploaded to Firebase storage bucket. Now, when we click on upload, so we are going to make a request to our Node.js server, and this will store both these URLs inside MongoDB database. So inside the database, you can currently see I have 0 documents. So let me click on upload. Okay, so let's go back and verify here. Now you can see the document is created with the image URL and video URL. That's all about the video guys. So in this video we have seen how to upload files to the cloud storage using Firebase in mernstack project, and on the front end like we have used the React, and on the back end like we have implemented a Node.js server, and we have connected to the MongoDB database, and inside the MongoDB like we have stored the URLs after uploading the files. So you can see on both the Firebase storage bucket as well as in the MongoDB database we have the information. Thank you for watching guys. I hope this video is helpful. Do like and subscribe to the channel. We'll meet in next video. Until then, take care. Bye.